Hi, we're Harriet and Mauro, and we're figuring out how to restore and manage a small 5-acre family farm here on the east coast of Spain. After 5 years here, we finally finished with the renovation work on our little stone cottage, and we've also put in place some key pieces of infrastructure which were lacking or broken when we moved in. It's been a learning journey, but here we are, finally able to pay more attention to the thing we came here to do in the first place, growing food. This year, that endeavour has actually been going quite well, so what better time to show you some of the things we're growing and experimenting with as we try to figure out how to feed our growing family a healthy and varied diet, producing as much as we can on our own land. I was planning to just collect seed from these Monge 2 plants, but it seems to still be going down here, which is crazy because it's really hot. Too hot for peas, but there's loads down here. Look at that, I got more fresh pods than dried in the end. Oh guys, you haven't been eating your straw. Gotta eat your straw. Got to give some to you separately, otherwise they won't let you eat it, will they? There you go. Is that nice? It's like alfalfa, but even better, right? So this is the first year we've really tried to grow a large amount of our own carbohydrates. Since I learned that non-organic potatoes are some of the most pesticide and herbicide-laden vegetables on the shelves, I was determined to grow enough of our own to see us through the year. Of course, we do eat other carbohydrates besides potatoes, but since starting my potato growing experiment, we've been basing a lot more meals around them, and I've really been enjoying that. This year, it was the first time really making an effort with potatoes, and I selected 5 varieties to try, including some purple potatoes and a super early variety called Nawen, which was supposedly meant to be ready in only 60 days. After preparing the beds with a rotavator and working in manure, I planted my 300 seed potatoes in rows and covered them all up. A few weeks later, they had all come up and the early ones were starting to flower. So today I'm just putting some more straw around the potatoes just to make sure the light stays off the tubers. They're all determinate varieties actually, so you don't really need to like mound them up. They're not going to make more tubers up off the stem, but just to keep the light off them. Another great thing about potatoes is that they are easy to plant and harvest for a casual gardener. You don't need any fancy equipment, and unlike grains, there's no threshing step or anything like that. You also don't have to rush to harvest them when the weather or the condition of the grain is just right. You can get away with leaving them in the ground for several weeks after the plant has died back, and that gives you some extra flexibility as well. You can get all sorts of different varieties of potatoes, some of which take longer to mature than others, so you can spread out your harvest that way too. Certain long-term storage varieties such as Kennebec and Yukon Gold can be stored for up to 8 months in the right conditions without any special treatment, which can allow you to eat your own potatoes almost all year round. I've also been planting bush beans along the edges of the potatoes, at least the potatoes that have a slightly longer cycle. The theory being that by the time we're ready to harvest the potatoes, the bush beans will have all done their thing and finished, and doesn't matter if we dig up the beds for the potatoes. I direct sowed them, and sadly I would say about 80% of them, the little seedlings, got eaten by blackbirds, so Some of them are coming up here and there, but I'm going to have to replant them. I've sowed them in seed trays now, so hopefully I can plant them out a bit bigger and they'll be okay. Bush beans are great because they don't need any trellising. They just grow as a little bush, so they're not going to make any extra work here for me along with the potatoes. You can eat the beans fresh, of course. You can can them, you can preserve them, or you can let the beans fully develop in the pods, dry out and become storage beans. So that was the potatoes all nicely mulched. I have 5 rows of my 5 varieties, and in a little bit we'll come back and see how they're doing. I should really trim in here first, but can't be bothered, just want the plums. Not sure how our alfalfa's doing right now. They'll probably spring back to life when it rains. Hopefully it's left lots of seed as well, but it's very dry at the moment. Alright, it's not a great year for these plums, actually. They're quite small and there's not many of them, but still worth harvesting. Warm from the sun. They're all perfect though, look at that. Not a bit of pest damage on any of them. Okay, that tree literally had 3, and 2 of them were bad anyway. That's okay. You get good and bad years with trees. We've had really good years in the past. I'm not even going to preserve these. I will literally just eat these like today and tomorrow. It does look like it's going to be a good year for our little purple plum tree though. I'll just show you. One year we got 22 kilos of plums off this tiny little tree. Although it wasn't a great year for our yellow plums, we do normally have an abundance of fruit at different points throughout the summer, but it's probably the most seasonal of all the things we have available to us. You get an enormous glut for a few weeks and then nothing for the rest of the year. You can plant a range of varieties of each fruit, which mature at different times to help extend your season, but then you do end up with even more fruit overall to deal with. We have 4 really productive loquat trees that were already established on the land when we bought it, and they are the epitome of this problem, or blessing, really, is how we should think of it. Between them, these trees give us hundreds of kilos of fruit every year. We sell, give away and preserve as much as we can, but we still can't find an outlet for it all. For weeks we eat loquat crumble on a daily basis, and I always make jam, chutney and hot sauce. But this year I decided to try dehydrating some too. I actually bought a solar dehydrator which runs completely off-grid, no plug or need for an electricity outlet, and just uses the heat of the sun, a solar-powered fan and some clever reflection tricks to draw heated air over your trays of drying food.
I wanted to show how much I've done in like 25 minutes of cutting. I filled 2 trays and I barely made a dent on this basket, and I still have this basket and this box here and 2 more trees. So I think this calls for organizing a loquat peeling party.
Conventional electric dehydrators actually draw a lot of power, up to 1000 watts, and you have to run them for up to 48 hours at a time depending on the type of food that you're putting in, and that's just not feasible for us. Meanwhile, just when the fruit is ripe and ready to harvest, the sun is up there in the sky putting out honestly too much heat, so why not try and use some of it to preserve my harvest? I've been experimenting with solar dehydrating for the last month or so, and I actually think this is one of the best things I've bought in a long time. Dehydrating is one of the best ways of preserving food to maintain nutritional value, so I had always wanted to try it, and it also massively shrinks the size of the produce as well. This batch here contained about 10 apricots, 4 peppers and 3 apples, and now dehydrated is massively shrunk down, and it will be really easy to store in jars in the pantry with no special need for refrigeration or treatment. And it's just the pure natural produce, no added sugar or preservatives, and we absolutely love the dried apricots and loquats as tasty little treats. It turns out we also grow almonds as well. I say turns out because when we first moved here, we really thought all of the almond trees were dead, and they didn't really do anything for the next few years either, so we had kind of given up on them, which was a shame. But last year, I don't know why, but they all kind of sprung back into life, and they're all looking really good this year. We also did buy some extra land. We bought an extra acre where we keep our donkeys, and we have some more almond trees on that land as well, and they're also doing really well. So we've been making a little bit of an effort to take care of these almond trees since they are actually alive and trying to give us some fruit. Earlier this year Mauro came through and we chopped down, since we could see what was actually alive, we chopped down everything that was completely dead. We chopped a lot of branches off, we gave everything a really good prune, and we left everything looking a lot better. The only thing that we need to do is fence the donkeys out of this terrace, because they really are compacting the soil here and they do eat any of the branches that they can reach. And if we want to give these almond trees the best chance, then I think we need to keep the donkeys out of here. We can still let them in now and then, but just for grazing, just to keep the grass and the weeds down, which is fine. They've got plenty of other space and they don't really use this terrace that much anyway. But there is one area that the donkeys have never been in, because from that area they could access the rest of the garden. It wasn't well fenced, there was a wall that was falling down. Anyway, we just blocked that area off. Now we have fenced the garden, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take down that electric fence that blocked the donkeys from that area, and I'm going to let them graze down all the weeds and stuff in this very overgrown area, so that we can get to the remaining almond trees, which still need a bit of a prune and which we are going to need to harvest in a few months' time. Having productive almond trees is such a huge bonus. I'm so glad that these trees have come back to life and that we can actually try and get a good harvest from them. We normally buy several crates of almonds to shell ourselves from friends who also grow organically. We buy them at the same price as he would sell them to the co-op, so that's a lot cheaper than buying almonds or almond flour in a shop as like a normal consumer. And we use a lot of almond flour. We crack all the almonds ourselves. We sometimes toast them, sometimes don't, but then we blend it all up for flour. We use it in pancakes, we use it in baking, we use it in porridge, sprinkled on cereal, in yogurt. Like, we just use it a lot. I consider it a really healthy, high protein, high fat alternative to just plain flour. So if I can substitute with almond flour, then I try to. And the possibility of harvesting our own almonds and getting our own almond flour right here on the farm is really exciting. It's always so lovely to see the donkeys enjoy a lush new field, although it's not looking that lush at the moment, but it is lovely to see them enjoy so many tasty things to eat, and I think they will enjoy this space so much more if they just come in here now and then. Once the weeds and the grass has grown up again, they'll get more to eat, the almond trees will hopefully do a lot better, and we save ourselves the job of having to trim and clear in this section here. So it's been 3 or 4 days. The donkeys have made a big difference already. Yep, hello. I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but it actually is a lot easier to walk through here. Up here around the fig tree, they don't seem to like the fig tree that much, but they've made some good pathways through. I mean, I couldn't walk here before, not easily anyway, so they've had all of the grass that was growing. They've had a good nibble on some wild olive trees, and it's just, yeah, it's a huge difference. Thank you guys. Have you been enjoying your time in here? So yeah, until this area is just fully clear, I will leave them in here. There's still plenty of food for them in there, and then I think we'll shut them out. We've got some almond trees in here which we need to attend to. But yeah, thank you guys. So today I'm going to be cooking some chicken in the solar cooker. I've just picked some kale, some cherry tomatoes, some herbs, some parsley and some fennel. So I'm going to chop the chicken up nice and small, throw it all in, a little bit of garlic and olive oil, and it should take, let me check. Provençal chicken is loosely the recipe I'm following. 2.5 hours, so just gone 11, the sun is high in the sky. Should be ready just in time for lunch. I'm cooking this chicken recipe in a solar oven from Solar Brother. I was so pleased with their dehydrator, which I bought myself, that I wrote to ask them if they would like to collaborate on this video, and they kindly sent me their Sungood solar cooker with the 4-litre Cosmo cooking pot. Like the dehydrator, it uses the heat of the sun and 1 square metre of reflective mirroring to perfectly cook your food in as little as 45 minutes. This particular model is a gentle cooker which reaches temperatures of between 100 and 150 degrees Celsius, which helps preserve the nutritional quality of the ingredients. But they have also developed a unique tubular model which reaches temperatures of up to 240 degrees. This is perfect for cooking things like cakes and bread or searing meat, fish and vegetables. There we go, doesn't that look so good? I'm feeling hungry already. Alright, we're going to pop the lid on and we'll see you in 2.5 hours. Whoa, that smells so good. Oh my goodness, this is hot. Look at the steam coming off that. Ow. Wow, excuse the gardening gloves. That smells like crispy kale chips. That looks so good. I left it a little longer than 2.5 hours. Well, not that much longer, like 3 hours. Oh my goodness, that smells so good. I'm going to eat that right now. That is so good. It's actually delicious. And that is actually one of our chickens. And that is the first time I've managed to cook one of our chickens and it not be stringy. So it's clearly not the chicken, it's the way I'm cooking it. That is so good. I think I've used the solar oven almost every day since we got it, and it's actually kind of changed how I cook and eat. I tend to do a quick harvest in the morning of veggies and maybe some potatoes too, and then I tend to just chuck whatever I have into the pot with some slices of lemon, a drizzle of oil, some herbs and salt, and about half a cup of water, and then I leave it in the sun. By lunchtime everything is cooked, but I can also just leave the pot till dinner time if I want to eat at dinner time, and it retains its heat, so it's just a super easy way to have a delicious, nutritious pot of food ready. Solar Brother have tons of recipes on their website for inspiration, and one of my favourites was this sesame leek dish, which we ate on broad bean pancakes, and it was probably one of the best things I've eaten in months. I really recommend you check out Solar Brothers' website if any of this sounds interesting to you, because they do have a whole range of products for cooking, dehydrating, even cooling, heating and fire starting. And it's actually fascinating to see what you can do directly with the energy from the sun, just using simple but clever design. I also have a discount code available, so don't forget to use that. And now let's go and take another look at my potatoes. Okay, it's been a while since we last spoke about the potatoes. We have been harvesting some early ones and we've been really enjoying them. I'm actually going to plant some sweet potatoes as well now. It's early June and I've got a variety which should be ready in 4 or 5 months, which is fine. That's well before our first frost date. So although it's a little late to be planting out, I have been assured that it's going to be fine. I've got a bed here next to the potatoes. The potatoes are looking a little bit more overgrown now than when you last saw them, I think. And I had originally done this area as a lasagna bed. I was putting loads of donkey manure, lots of straw, packing it all down, and I had bordered it with logs. When the boars came through, they seemed to really like that area, which is great because there was nothing growing there, but they did really dig it all up. They pulled all of the logs out of position. It's just a bit of a mess in there. It's not the nice lasagna bed that I had in mind, so I think I'm going to use that space for the sweet potatoes. Because it's all just got a little bit of a mess, I'm going to run the rotavator down this line here, get the soil ready for planting, and then I can do my sweet potatoes this evening when it's cooler. Right, that's all the sweet potatoes in. That's about 60 plants, I think. And I take no responsibility for the shape of the rows because the boars pulled out my string line and it all got tangled up, so it's just gonna have to look like that. I do seem to have a little bit of an extra row along here, so I'm just gonna put in some spare stuff that I've got in pots. Keep these sweet potatoes alive. Yeah, it's 34 degrees today, which is about as hot as it ever gets here. And yeah, I would not recommend planting tiny little sweet potatoes. Did you see the size of the roots on them? I can't remember if I showed you, but they had like next to nothing in terms of roots, so they're really struggling. But thank God for the sprinklers, because I can put those on a few times a day and it just keeps everything cool enough and keeps the ground moist, and they are doing okay. They just need to get through like the first 4 or 5 days, I would say, and then I can relax a little bit. But yeah, but yeah, the sprinklers are brilliant because not only do they get the water into the ground, but they also just reduce the overall temperature, and the plants are really thankful for that. One thing that we're hoping to always be self-sufficient in as well is olive oil. There's not really much to show you with the trees at the moment because they're just growing. They're looking good for this year. The olives are forming. We had a good year with the blossom and they're all looking good. That's how the olives are looking right now on the 17th of June. They're still small, but they are forming. And it doesn't look like much now, but once these are all big, it'll look like a much better harvest. And most of our trees are looking like this. So yeah, we're hoping to get a good harvest this year. Last harvest was actually the first harvest that we produced enough oil to last us through the year, so we were really happy about that. Yeah, we had about 120 kilos of olives and we made 16 litres. We gave a little bit away, and we ended up with enough to see us through, which is awesome, you know, being able to produce your own olive oil, and we use a lot of it. And because we produce it ourselves and we have a good amount of it, we can be generous with it and we use plenty of it. And what I'm going to do today is just preserve some sun-dried tomatoes. I've got a sterilised pot here. I've put a little bit of oregano, salt and lemon juice in, and actually the pot is probably way too big, but I've sterilised it now, so let's just go with it. I mean, we're probably going to eat these pretty soon, so it doesn't matter if there's a lot of space in the pot. Okay, yeah, that pot is way too big. I could have cut way more tomatoes in there, but this is the first time I've done this, so it's just an experiment. Apparently this will last for up to 6 months in the fridge. It's not shelf stable the way it's preserved, just in oil like that, but yeah, they don't take up a lot of space in the fridge, so I'm gonna go pop that in. Oh, I meant to put some garlic as well, and a little clove of garlic. So yeah, that is some of the bigger scale stuff we are growing at the moment, or trying to grow, to kind of cover some of those big food groups and be as self-sufficient as possible in the things we feel like it makes sense to be self-sufficient in. The one big area we haven't really touched on is dairy, and we would absolutely love to bring some sheep or goats into the farm one day. However, animals are a big commitment and we already have plenty, and we do have very local options for good quality dairy, so we're just leaving that as a long-term possibility. I have to say, even with the boars ripping up most of my first summer plantings, this year has actually been a good year so far. We have water, we had a nice wet spring, and things are actually going well. Not every year looks like this. This growing food thing has definitely been a learning journey, and I'm very much still on it. Let's hope everything continues growing well throughout the summer and we get the good harvests we're hoping for. As they say, you can't rest until the olives are in the press, so please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to follow the journey. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.